Mud Recollection of the Past. Star Atlas Roadmap Scan Number 3. After encountering Mr. Spugles on Liblit, M4, known to ordinary space explorers as Yago and Wen, turned their Busan-made thrill of life towards the deeper reaches of the high-risk zone. Their next objective was the territories under the direct influence of the Jorvik pirates. Soon enough, they would need to tread very carefully, even with the invitation on Wen's arm. I swear, Wen, if I had to hear that laugh again for 5 more breaths, I would fry that punab and use him as bait for the pelly of Dre, said M4, mimicking himself catching one of the famous fish on the spa planet. A quick smile found its way to the lieutenant's face. He remembered how the punab would spill thousands of profanities every time his friend mentioned the word hero. They had delivered Mr. Spugles, his henchmen and their escorts to one of the many safe houses that ATMTA had secured on different moons and stations across deep space. Fun fact, the Ooster were not called Henchman 1 and Henchman 2, but instead had very proper Ooster names, Hock and Swir. Wen, I see some curious patterns in the outer part of the system. Should we be concerned? The agent asked while looking at the console. Lieutenant Wen was lost in thought. Wen! Answer me, Wen! Said M4, poking Wen's face. Wen slapped Marie's hand. Yeah, sorry. Was wondering about how all this is playing out, said Wen, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Yago could see that somber look that Wen's face would get when he started to think too deeply. Yago had seen the lieutenant look like this too often since he joined ATMTA roughly 1 year ago. Yago was beginning to worry about his childhood friend. What's wrong, Wen? Are you trying to scare the Theoni with your glare? I'm afraid that won't do the trick. I guess you need something on the Titan level to have a shot at him, Yago said with a hint of a smile. Wen's expression softened at the mention of the legendary being. We had this conversation before, Yago. There's no such thing as the Theoni. Wen dismissed his friend's idea with a smile of his own. Says the oh-so-knowledgeable Lieutenant Wen. But I will let you know that my friend's cousin knew someone who swears having seen it eating one of the Jorvik patrols, and it wasn't pretty, Yago affirmed in a severe tone. Okay, I can't argue with such a reliable source. You can mark me convinced, said Wen, with all the sarcasm he could muster. Silence filled the modern Busan ship, but after about 30 seconds, it was interrupted by the soft voice of the ship's computer. Good afternoon, agents. ATMTA sends you the development report. Please open the link here for the complete information, or, should you prefer, I can run through the most relevant updates. Agent M4 quickly intervened. Please read out only the most relevant ones, and then continued. Wen, do you remember how we met? 2 lonely kids in the dumpsters of the salvage yards, bruised, hungry and cold. Look at us now, though, true heroes, like the ones in the stories you had read to us so many years ago, Yago said with a genuine smile. Wen didn't answer immediately, unfastening his seatbelt and making a few steps to put his mind at ease with a mug of coffee. The soothing smell of the warm ancestral drink of the human race filled the room before Wen answered. To be completely honest with you, Yago, I have my doubts. He handed the Maries a steaming hot cup before proceeding. We have indeed left the salvage yards, but I'm not sure the salvage yards left us, Wen said while looking out at the beautiful horizon of colours that shone in the stars. Yago quickly changed into a mix of confusion and concern for his friend's grave tone. But before he could reply, the computer's smooth voice said, First update. Showroom. The pride and joy of ATMTA is reaching its final building stages. Elegance, sophistication, and interactivity are the words chosen by our engineers when describing the beautiful Unreal Engine 5 world that unfolds before our clients' eyes, as you can see from the following image. Wow! Both reacted as the hologram of the showroom appeared in front of them. The computer AI continued. The most relevant update of the week is the user experience on the blockchain front, which is complete together with the required wireframes. As the voice ceased, Yago questioned with a hint of preoccupation in his voice, "What do you mean about the salvage yard still being with us?" Wen paused for a second, trying to organize his thoughts, then proceeded. "Yago, do you remember when we found the old data logs, and we managed to uncover the stories about the heroes?" "Yeah, sure. Those are by far the happiest memories I have of those days. Even though we all struggled a lot, your tales kept everyone going." Xana especially smiled whenever you mimicked the villains' voices, the Maurice said, himself smiling gently. Wen felt as if daggers were piercing his heart at the mention of Xana's name, but he took a deep breath and answered, "If I could go back in time, I would never have opened those records. Those fairy tales deluded us, Yago, making us think that good and evil are the two principal acting forces in the universe and that good would always triumph." The lieutenant progressed, full of resentment, and without a pause, as if spilling every sentence. "We live in a prosperous space age, where the marvels of technology enable us to build colossal vessels that dwarf some planets, yet do you know what didn't change, Yago? Morals. Humans, Maries, Ooster, Punabs, and every other race in the universe has the same moral standards my ancestors had in those fairy tales we loved. Read, Yago. It seems to be engraved in mortal beings' souls, as if polis was the only true creed of existence." Yago looked into the eyes of his old friend, and although his face showed hatred, his pupils did not lie about the contents of his heart. Desperation. Yago suddenly realized how deep Wen still kept the pain of their past, under all the analytical tone and coolness of his manner. The boy who had lost everything in the salvage yards 14 years ago was still there. Before Yago could say anything, the voice of the console announced, "Second update, Galactic Marketplace. The main gateway into ATMTA goods and services. We hope to offer the galaxy the most exciting and user-friendly experience in technology acquisitions. This week we have some exciting updates." As soon as the console finished his refined sales pitch, 5 simple words appeared in a hologram. Atlas Staking Program building started. The console continued. "One of our most sought features, the Atlas Staking Program building, has officially started. This entails that we will now submit the Marketplace program for an audition while creating mock-up data in DevNet to prepare for the front-end blockchain connection." A small piece of Wenn's mind was feeling proud of those developments. He worked hard for the Atlas staking in his time at ATMTA, but the overwhelming guilt denied him from celebrating anything. "Wen, it's not your fault. Nothing that happened that day was your fault. However, what you are saying is only partially true. The COP, even though not perfect, has brought an age of prosperity and relative peace to the galaxy. Although there are undoubtedly many villains, there are also heroes, like the ones who saved us after that day," Yago added, without a hint of the playful Maurice that was his customary manner. Third update, System Polishing. Most onboard computers are programmed to avoid interrupting conversations, but this one seemed to actively seek it out. ATMTA is always striving to provide the best experience for their users, and system polishing ensures that we are doing better for you every day. Here are the relevant updates of this week. Bug fix. Marketplace orders placed with 3 decimals of precision appear to be successful when they are not. Features. Cookie enhancement and Taurus wallet integration, the AI cheerfully said. Wen replied to his friend, talking over the computer update. "I certainly can't deny that there are forces of good in the universe, such as you, Clonk, and Pethros, who sheltered and educated us, giving us a purpose after everything was gone. But you guys are the exception that confirms the rule, I'm afraid. Regarding the COP, even though their ideas are noble, the crushing reality is that their so-called safe zones, only encompass a minor part of the galaxy, amassing wealth only in those regions, yet other areas scrape for a few atlas. They are also not in any way a monolithic formation of good beings. You would be ashamed at what I heard regarding the Outer World's denizens at the Officers' Academy of the COP. The AI suddenly spoke, now in a louder tone, saying, Lieutenant Wen, as established in the Code of Conduct of ATMTA employees, Article 324, Section 1, it is strictly prohibited to ignore the announcements of ATMTA Industries during peaceful travel. Please pay attention. This is considered a warning with legal ramifications. While not caring to hear an answer, the insolent AI continued as if nothing had happened, switching back to a cheerful tone. Fourth update. Scream. One of ATMTA's hottest products, the project with the codename Scream, will allow our players to have meaningful progression with ships and work together within their faction to achieve shared goals. Scream prioritizes community building by working with factions through fun use of vessels, immersive 3D graphics, and closed-loop gameplay. After what almost seemed like an intentionally dramatic short pause, the AI added, the most relevant feature of this week's update is that we are on week 3 of the prototyping of Scream, while also onboarding ATMTA Senior Director of Economy and the Director of User Interface to collaborate with Scream development. Wen breathed, waiting for the console to end before saying, You are wrong, Yago. I sincerely appreciate the fact that you don't hold me accountable for what happened with Xana and Clonk, but it was my fault. If I hadn't babbled on that day at the fair, those bounty hunters would never have discovered us in the salvage yard. This is an objective fact, and nothing you say will change this. I don't understand humans at all, thought Yago. The lamenting lieutenant in front of him couldn't accept that fate had placed him in this situation so that he would rise again to claim his rightful place. Nothing he did could have changed this, the Marines knew, because some events are in the domain of the Almighty One. The will of the gods can't be changed when. Their fate on that day was written in advance. But, for better or worse, we all have a role to play in the grand plot of the universe, and ours is the role of the heroes. The sooner you accept this, the better. The Marines tried to soften the delivery of the harsh truth with a smile. Fifth update. Hollis Dow, the computer said, and Wen could swear he could feel a boastfully victorious tone coming from the AI. ATMTA state-of-the-art protocol for galactic governance. Those interested in exercising power will be able to submit proposals and exercise voting rights on public submissions. Additionally, once deployed, those wielding Polis power will be allowed to engage in a variety of contracts in line with their political resolve, both short and long term, and earn in-game yield along a curve based on the maturity of stake. This week, the most relevant update for the DAO project is that the reward algorithm details are complete, while we have onboarded yet another engineer to the project. The console chirped jovially. This completes yet another successful transmission. Wenn's outlook wasn't as bright. I wish I could accept such a comforting way of comprehending reality, Yago, but I'm no hero. Wen sat with a blank face. A faint ping sound emitted by the ship's radar quickened in pace, pulling him back to the present. He scanned the controls. We've got company.